has been a tale of several stories economically lately. Vietnam is booming. Singapore dodged a recession. China is struggling at the moment. The economy didn't get the bounce from the COVID reopening that many had expected. There's also the issue with the property values and possible deflation. With me is Peter Chun, the founder at Silverbear Capital, and with some very timely information. So I feel like China's in the news about every day here. And you're based in Hong Kong. So tell me, what do you see on the ground?
Well, obviously, this year's Chinese number are not particularly up to expectation. So, despite the government strong intervention into the economy, and despite that, they actually double time reduced their banking reserve just to allow more lending power into the economy, didn't really help so far. So Hong Kong being part of China obviously will be carried forward in the same direction slightly. And despite the weak capital market performances, and there's no big IPOs going on at the moment. So yes, Hong Kong is definitely going to probably need to be a bit more patient with the economy coming back.
What do you think was behind China not bouncing back as much as people expected?
Duly because there is the mixture of chemistry about the whole Chinese economy is based on property market for the last 10 years. And it was also the central government policies to limit the expansion of property because they would like to actually wanted to control, I would say, the bubble, as to call. So especially a few large property developers is actually defaulting on their credits as well. So I think although there is a lending atmosphere in China, it didn't really go to the property market, which is basing the economy as the foothold. And because the foothold was not being supported well, and therefore actually this actually will get carried forward with all these negative sentiments in the market space.
Was it just too much optimism, you think? Rebuilding? I mean, we see that happen here. People overbuild and prices go down. I mean, what was kind of behind that huge property growth that we saw over the past 15 years?
Well, the property and then obviously the exports, everything was working out in Chinese favor at a particular point of time. The manufacturing went well. Everything seems to be in the right direction. And obviously, every year they have reported a very strong growth due to how everybody was arguing how China was calculating their GDP with their accounting magic principle that they used. And these 2 years, obviously, the presidents have actually made certain progress into adjusting how they calculate GDP. So what they're claiming is this GDP number is a little bit more catered towards international standard now.
I see, okay. And there was also the youth unemployment issue. It's about 20%. So what's going on with the young people and why they don't want to work? Or, I mean, what's happening there?
The problem carried forward probably have extended even back towards 20 years ago when farming, manufacturing was the key element for the growth in China infrastructures. But however, the recent younger people are more educated, so they're not exactly the farmer type personnel. They're not like a factory worker point of view. So they don't have that point of view of like working in those industries. So this is one of those transformational gap that the population needs to probably be able to adapt. So the economy needs to start providing more servicing jobs, more, I would say, technology jobs for these younger people, which the economy needs time to catch up.
Now, we just had the Commerce Secretary, Gina Raimondo, just came back from China, and it seemed like a pretty positive trip. In fact, the Ministry of Commerce in China said that restoring stability in the U.S.-China trade relations is the best way to de-risk So I felt like that was kind of a nice move forward. What do you think of that?
I remember going back a couple of years ago when everybody was speculating about the Chinese-U.S. relationships, especially starting off the trade war. We didn't expect the conflict had extended for so many years now, and we're so delighted to actually to see that there's actually some progress on the front end now. So I think I would totally agree with you. This is absolutely probably a very good signal from both parties saying, okay, well, finally they had kind of put themselves into a format whereby they know this needs to be resolved.
Well, and it feels like the two largest economies in the world. And it feels like it's better for everybody if things are, everybody gets along and works together on these things.
Absolutely.
And what about consumer spending? I know that's one thing. China is known as such great savers of money, something we're not so great at in the U.S. But is there a way that the government could boost consumer spending and help give the economy a jolt?
They did try. Obviously, after COVID, there is the government intervention about how they would be able to encourage spending power internally, especially in China. And obviously, what really happened this year was everybody was using their saving to pay back the debt during COVID. So it's kind of the Chinese probably population sentiment to actually try to pay off what they own before they try to spend. And obviously, I guess it was a long COVID, and the retail had been harshly hit in China. So that would affect again the employment rate, because obviously the retail obviously hire quite a number of percentage of the population to just run it. So I think it's back in a circle all the time to come through with a result that basically the Chinese government is saying, wow, okay, well, yeah, I can understand this, but the question lies here is it retail that they needed to push, or why the online world that is supposed to not be affected is still slow compared to the other days? So I think going forward, it will probably take 1 or 2 years for the economy to come back to its kind of a normal spending level. So this adjustment probably needs to happen.
Do you think the China-West relationship will come back? If so, what do you think that might look like?
We have always thought it would come back because despite whatever conflict that each other probably point of view have been given to be seen, to a largest economy, if they're not working together, then it would probably be I wouldn't say it was a mistake, but it will be an unfortunate thing for everybody who's actually engaged in this international ecosystem of trade. So I'm sure everybody and every member of this world would probably want this conflict to be softened, if not resolved completely in the near future.
You also do some investments in other parts of Asia. We spend a lot of time talking about China, but Singapore, Vietnam, Thailand. I mean, talk about what you see in some of these other countries.
Well, Indonesia and India is coming strong, and we saw quite a number of strong IPOs from Indonesia, taking Indonesia to number 4 in the Southeast Asia capital market ranking. I guess it's a mixture of the geopolitical handling policies and the strong population that they have, and everything in that region is kind of very reasonably priced. So there is a lot of upside there. In India, especially with the strong population, we saw a number of unicorns in India coming through. So they made a pretty good headway for themselves. Vietnam, we saw a EV company coming through to the US, did pretty okay.
Made a nice IPO.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Finally.
And they've taken over some manufacturing. I think isn't Apple moving some of its manufacturing to Vietnam as
Exactly.
well? Yeah.
Yep.
Kind of diversify a little bit. So just some final thoughts. I mean, what are your thoughts going forward as an investor in that part of the world? What are you looking at, and what are some industries that you think really have a lot of potential?
The emerging market is still where we want to position ourselves. So the fintech, anything with cell phones, correlated. Entertainment is actually doing pretty okay in Southeast Asia. So we see a lot of the content market coming back. An argument about ESG, we still believe in it, by the way, no matter what. I think it's a must to do scenario.
So you're seeing some of the debate about that, like we are here.
Yes.
ESG is kind of political, and it's,
Yeah,
okay.
it must be done. It must be done. And we are seeing a lot of, I would say, resources movement, because when we have witnessed actually in Indonesia, and all these IPOs are actually resources companies that had gone IPO.
Yeah. Well, doesn't Indonesia have a lot of kind of the natural resources for electric vehicles? Is it lithium, or what do they have a lot of?
I think they have a lot of coal, which they export to China, which is not ESG.
Not ESG.
But some clever company did go to Indonesia and started to turn coal into gas. So that helped. There's copper, and there's other small minerals, but they are a rich in mineral resources country. So I think that also helped them to be kind of the first mover in the recovery after COVID as well. I think also commodities, food is important. I think agriculture is going to probably come back, because I think everybody's into sustainable agriculture now. So I think the sentimental towards investment is still kind of those areas I just described for the time being. Technology is staying, semiconducting is absolutely some of the things that we have put our focus on.
Yeah. And it feels like after COVID, things are kind of starting to normalize a little bit worldwide. We're starting to see the job market get back in balance, and certain things. It's been 3 years, but it feels like things are normalizing. So,
Yes.
Yeah. Peter, thank you so much. Always great to get your insight to what's going on in Asia.
Thank you.
Thanks.